Hello, I'm Matt Buell with M Buell Studio, and on behalf of the Woodworking Network as your Young Wood Pro host, it's monthly topic time. This month's topic is extremely exciting. Not really, but it's essential, so we're going to do it. Cash flow. It is the lifeline of a business. And as much as I like talking about woodworking things and lessons and experience I've learned as a woodworker, as a furniture builder, and all that stuff, I hate to break to you, young wood pros, cash flow is one of the biggest essentials in running a business. Now, this will not be some, big worded economics 101 class or some TED talk on cash flow. I want to talk about it, how it really just pertains into a woodworking business. Okay? So we're going to keep it real simple. I break it down into three categories. The first one is your deposit / pricing. The second one is production time. And my third category is overhead. These three things I treat as the big three to help me make sure that I am kind of tuning in and always working on the dial to keep cash flow moving. Because money's coming in, money's going out. If there's no flow, money's just going out. All right, so let's get to it. Deposits. So typically a deposit I'm going to require half. But that also means that my price is enough that half covers my materials. It's covering my overhead for the duration of the time that I'm going to take to build it, which requires a little knowledge on how long you're going to take. But it also pays for my life, within reason. Living within your means, right? So that's the idea. Now, if it's me personally, if it's a big job that's going to occupy a lot of my space, at times I have done a 60% down deposit. So really, it's something you're going to kind of have to feel out. I'm not going to go into your pricing and how you should price on stuff, because everyone builds different things. I'm just speaking in more of a generality here. That one of the big pieces of cash flow is making sure that deposit doesn't have you working while you're starving or worried the lights are getting turned off just to get the job out. All right, so the second aspect, and this is a big one, time. If I'm a hero woodworker, the greatest villain I'm always battling against is time. Time is the antagonist in my experience. So when we're talking about cash flow, the quicker you're getting work pieces out, the quicker you're getting paid. That's injecting cash. So you're just doing it quickly. It's also the less bills are going out during that work time. All right. So time is everything. So when you are bidding a job or giving someone pricing and they're asking about your time frames, give yourself some cushion. There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of y'all probably read about lumber when you're figuring how much lumber you got to get for a job, right? The rule of thumb is add 20% because there's going to be waste and certain boards will be off. I do the same thing with time. I'll add 15, 20% more time on what I think it's going to take, because I think we all know woodworking is not a speedy practice. Well, not good woodworking. All right. So time's a big one. And that's where that deposit thing, they're all kind of building on each other. Deposit should last the amount of time. So getting it out. Take the days off after the job's done. Once I cash that deposit and start using it, I am now fighting time. Okay? And that's another thing with the deposits I wanted to use as a segue. You can have multiple deposits come in at once, especially as your business gets up and running and you're getting a little more established. That's common. So my rule of thumb is, if I'm not going to get to a job I just took a deposit on in 3 months, guess what? I don't touch that money for 3 months. Let it be. Because the worst thing is starting a job already out of money. Not wise. So the other reason why you'll always hear me talk about this in the articles is, always looking at how efficient are you? How are you working in a way that's efficient? What kind of equipment, machinery can you invest in to help you run faster without losing quality and more efficiently? Like, this is not a machine. This clamp rack was a great thing for me. It allowed me to get more glue ups out on a daily basis. You know, and this gross plastic tarp that I keep around here you can't see, I cover in between every layer when I glue up. Not because I can't scrape off the excess glue that drips on the other stuff, but what a waste of time. It takes me 2 minutes to throw the plastic on. It takes a little bit more than that to scrape all the glue off. So, time, it is your enemy. Hurry up and dry. One little tip, by the way, you're starting out, you're a young wood pro, and you're gonna have to give yourself some room to make some mistakes. It's hard to know how long it takes to build stuff till you've built a bunch of stuff. So my suggestion is right now, you sit down and you come up with a small number that you can start putting a small percentage from every job into saving. And I call it a prudent reserve. You come up with a number that you think you need to have just set back to cover you in case you're 3 weeks later on a job and the deposit's getting low. You can touch your prudent reserve to get that, okay? And whatever number you come up with, go ahead and double it. The reason I suggest this is it allows you to have some room to be wrong and not lose your business. So start coming up with some numbers that you think you're comfortable with. Prudent reserve, very helpful, especially in the early years. The last of my 3 big aspects of cash flow for you is overhead. In other words, the cost of just existing as a business. And as I've mentioned before, just starting out, you know, you're a young wood pro just getting moving, getting your business going. It has been my experience that a tight and lean ship can survive way worse storms. And by that I mean not having a lot of bills that your business has to pay on a regular basis to where it's just too hard to keep up with. So in any way you can minimize your bills, minimize them. The more you can minimize what you're sending out, the more cash is freed up in hand while you're working. And that is good. That's cash flow in hand. All right. And that doesn't mean things don't come up. But I personally, I don't put a lot of my, just cash that I have available or coming in into larger size business investments. That's something I will already have a separate kind of like savings account for to kind of throw into, or it's when I go to a bank and I finance like it's machinery and stuff like that. I've done that in the middle of jobs when I had good cash flow because I didn't want to tie up my cash. And I went and got a loan on something with a really good low monthly payment that allowed me to keep my overhead low and allowed me to keep access to my cash. So always be looking at how you can keep your overhead lower because it means less money going out, which means there's more in your pocket. And that gives you flexibility. The other day I went to look at lumber, to buy lumber for a client. And, I've known these guys a long time, so sometimes they'll save stuff for me to see. And they had some absolutely gorgeous, like flame figured maple. It was stunning, good bit of it. And he quoted me a price that was also stunning. And my inner woodworker was like, yeah, I need to buy that. I didn't buy it. Because I know, even if I bought it, I can't even get to playing with it for another 10 to 12 months. And I would have been tying up a decent amount of cash. To what? Sit against my wall for 10 to 12 months? I personally have learned from experience. Tight, lean, survives the storm, okay? So I liked having my cash instead. Doesn't mean I won't be mindful if someone calls me wanting something, I know where to go get it, but I like to run lean. Anyway, so always be looking for how you can lower your overhead, or mindful that when you're taking on overhead, is it gonna help you with the other two aspects we've talked about? Deposit and price, same one, and mostly production time. Investments should go into production time. If it's going to increase my cash flow for the next 10 years, I'd look at that investment. Anyway, I know it's not the prettiest subject. It's not the most excitatory, especially for a woodworker. But if you want to have a successful business, you have to run a business. And sometimes it's being a good business person is going to become more important than loving woodworking. Like walking away from the really nice figured flame maple. I just remembered yesterday, I already have some really nice flame figured maple. Okay? All right. Well, I hope this was helpful, and stay tuned. See you next month.